Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. In this video, we will be considering Bgcse Chemistry 2018 Paper 1 past paper. Notice that we have Chemistry Paper 1 Bgcse National Examination. Let's begin. Question number 1 says, which term describes the composition of matter? Is it A, matter is made up of compounds only, made up of elements only, made up of mixtures of elements and compounds only, or D, made up of tiny particles? The correct answer is definitely going to be D, matter is made up of tiny particles, because matter is made up of tiny particles such as atoms and molecules, which form all elements, compounds, and mixtures. So the correct answer is definitely going to be D. Let's move on to question number 2, and it says, which row in the table describes the properties of a liquid? So we have solid, liquid, and gases, but here they're asking us which row in the table describes correctly the properties of a liquid. So is it that for a liquid we have a fixed shape and changeable volume? For liquid we have a fixed shape and decreased volume. We have that it takes the shape of a container and has increased volume, or that it takes the shape of a container and has a fixed volume. Here, the correct answer here is definitely going to be D, because a liquid does not have a fixed shape. Indeed, it takes the shape of the container, but it does have a fixed volume. So the correct answer is definitely going to be D. Liquids takes the shape of the container and it has a fixed volume. Let's move on to question number 3, and it says the chart shows a solid substance changing directly into a gas. So we have the solid substance, we have process A, and we have the gas. Which row in the table is the most suitable answer? A is process A, evaporation, and the substance ice crystals. It's process A, sublimation, and the substance iodine crystals. Is process A, evaporation, and the substance iodine crystals, or is process A, sublimation, and the substance ice crystals? Well, the correct answer here is definitely going to be B, because the process is definitely sublimation, because the direct change from a solid to a gas is called sublimation. That is process A. And iodine crystals are a substance that undergoes sublimation. So we have sublimation is the process and iodine crystals is the substance. So the correct answer is definitely going to be B. Let's move on to question number 4. And here it says, which pair represents Boyle's law? Here, this seems like it's a typo, and the reason is the following. The question appears to contain a typo or misprint, because Boyle's law is a gas law that describes the relationship between pressure and volume. Indeed, according to Boyle's law, E is directly proportional to 1 over V, or we could say PV is a constant. So Boyle's law is a gas law, and it's not related to solubility. This question clearly is intended to test the knowledge of solubility rules by identifying a pair in which one substance is soluble in water and the other is insoluble. So this question seems to be testing solubility rules and not Boyle's law. So that's why it is probable that this is definitely a typo. Okay, so let's rephrase the question so that we could be able to still answer it and still benefit from this question, right? So rephrasing or rewording the question so that it makes sense for us, this would be a good rewording. Which pair correctly shows a substance that is soluble in water and a substance that is insoluble in water? Is it A, potassium chloride is soluble in water and barium sulfate is insoluble in water? Is it B, silver nitrate is soluble in water and calcium carbonate is insoluble in water? Is it C, silver chloride is soluble in water and lead 2 sulfate is insoluble in water? Is it D, sodium carbonate is soluble in water and lead 2 chloride is insoluble in water? Indeed, the correct answer is going to be A, because potassium chloride is soluble in water and barium sulfate is insoluble in water. And that's what we have here. Potassium chloride is soluble in water while barium sulfate is insoluble in water. Now, how do we know that potassium chloride is soluble in water? Well, all potassium salts are soluble in water. So potassium chloride is going to be soluble in water. How do we know that barium sulfate is insoluble in water? Well, most sulfates are soluble in water, but barium sulfate is an exception and is insoluble in water. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A. Potassium chloride is soluble in water, whereas barium sulfate is insoluble in water. Let's move on to question number 5, and it says, which color is universal indicator most likely? It's actually supposed to say most likely. So which color is universal indicator most likely to turn when placed in a solution of calcium hydroxide? Is it blue, green, red, or yellow? The correct answer is definitely going to be blue. Calcium hydroxide is an alkaline solution, and universal indicator turns blue in alkaline conditions. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A, blue. Let's move on to question number 6, and it says, which method is best suited to separate a mixture of oil and vinegar? So we're trying to separate this mixture of oil and vinegar, and which method is best suited for this particular process? Is it chromatography, decantation, distillation, or filtration? The correct answer is definitely going to be B, because oil and vinegar are what we call immiscible liquids that form separate layers. So decantation is used to pour off one liquid from the other. So the correct answer is definitely going to be B. Let's move on to question number 7, and it says, which type of structure would contain positive ions in a sea of delocalized electrons? Is it A, aqueous solutions of ionic compounds, B, covalent compounds, C, ionic solids, or D, metals? The correct answer is definitely going to be D, metals, because metals consist of positive metal ions arranged in a lattice and surrounded by a sea of delocalized electrons. So the correct answer is definitely going to be D, metals. Let's move on to question number 8, and it says, which method is best suited to test the purity of a sample of water? Is it A, litmus paper, B, melting and boiling point, C, pH meter, or D, hydrogen carbonate? The correct answer is definitely going to be B, melting and boiling point, because a pure substance has a fixed melting point and boiling point. So measuring these is the best way to test the purity of a sample of water. So the correct answer is definitely going to be B. Let's move on to question number 9. And for questions number 9 through 12, these are based on atomic diagrams, the following atomic diagrams. Notice that this dot here represents an electron, N is a neutron, and P is a proton. So which atomic structure represents a metalloid? Is it A, B, C, or D? Is it W, X, Y, or Z? Well, the correct answer here is definitely going to be X, because atomic structure X represents a metalloid because it has 5 protons, identifying it as a boron. So if we look here at X, notice that X has 5 protons. Which element do you know that has 5 protons? Well, we could use the number of protons to identify the element. And the element that has 5 protons is boron. And so atomic structure X represents a metalloid because it has 5 protons, identifying it as boron because it has 5 protons, which is classified as a metalloid. So boron is a metalloid, and this particular structure represents boron. So X has to be a metalloid. So the correct answer is definitely going to be B, which points to, or which represents boron, and boron is definitely going to be a metalloid. Okay, let's move on to question number 10, and then we have W, X, Y, and Z, and it says, which atomic structure represents an element that exists in nature as a diatomic gas? So di, when you think di, think 2, all right? So we have W, X, Y, and Z, and so the correct answer is definitely going to be Y, because notice how many protons we have. We have 8 protons. Think, what element do you know that has 8 protons? The answer is definitely going to be oxygen. Oxygen has 8 protons. So Y is oxygen, and oxygen exists naturally as a diatomic gas. So that's what we are saying here, right? The atomic structure shows 8 protons, which identifies the element as oxygen. Oxygen has 6 electrons in its outer shell and needs 2 more to become stable. Therefore, 2, remember diatomic gas. Therefore, 2 oxygen atoms share electrons to form O2. O2. So oxygen exists naturally as a diatomic gas. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C, which is Y, and Y is referring to or pointing to oxygen. Okay, let's move on to question number 11, and it says, which type of bonding will take place between atomic structures W and Y? Is it covalent bonding, hydrogen bonding, ionic bonding, or metallic bonding? The correct answer is definitely going to be C, ionic bonding, because if we notice, how many protons does this atomic structure have? Well, it has three protons, and so that means that we're talking about lithium. All right, so the lithium is a metal, so we have a metal here, and we have Y. We know that Y is oxygen, and that's going to be a non-metal, so we have a metal and we have a non-metal. What is the bonding between a metal and a non-metal? That's going to be ionic bonding. And so that means that the correct answer is going to be C, ionic bonding. And that's what we're saying here, right? Atomic structure W has 3 protons, so it is lithium. And lithium, this metal, is a metal that loses electrons. Atomic structure Y has 8 protons, so it is oxygen, a non-metal that what? Gains electrons. Bonding between a metal and non-metal occurs by electron transfer, which is what? Ionic bonding. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C, ionic bonding. Let's move on to question number 12, and it says, in which period do these atomic structures belong? Is it period 1, period 2, period 3, or period 4? Indeed, the correct answer is definitely going to be B, period 2. Because each atomic diagram shows 2 occupied electron shells. The period number equals the number of occupied electron shells. So these atoms are in period 2. All right, so they're in period 2. Let's move on to question number 13, and it says atoms are made up of subatomic particles. Which row in the table has the correct information? So for A, we have that the particle is an electron, the charge is negative, and the mass relative to a proton is 1 over 1,840. For B, we have that the particle is a neutron, the charge is positive, and the mass relative to a proton is 1. For C, we have that the particle is a proton, the charge is 0, and the mass relative to a proton is 1. And finally, for D, we have the particle is the nucleus, the charge is +2, and the mass relative to a proton is 3. So which row in the table has the correct information? Indeed, the correct answer is definitely going to be A, because an electron, it has a negative charge and has a very small mass, about 1 over 1,840 of the mass of a proton, which matches the correct subatomic particle information that we have in this table. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A. Let's move on to question number 14, and it says, what is the electron configuration for a sulfur ion S2 negative? Is it A, 26, B, 286, C, 287, or D, 288? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be D, 288, because notice a sulfur atom, so let's focus on the atom first. Here we're talking about the ion, but let's focus on the atom, the sulfur atom first, right? The sulfur atom has 16 electrons. That's the atom. And the S2 negative ion, or the sulfur ion, gains 2 more electrons. So if the sulfur atom has 16 and the ion gains 2 more electrons, how many electrons would the sulfur ion have? Well, it would have 16 plus 2, and 16 plus 2 is what? That's going to be 16, 17, 18. So it's going to be a total of what? 18 electrons. And these 18 electrons are arranged in 2, 8, 8. So 8 plus 2 is 10, and 10 plus 8, well, that's 18. So the correct answer is definitely going to be D, 288. Let's move on to question number 15, and it says, which pair of ions contributes to the hardness of water? Is it A, Na plus and K plus, B, Na plus and Ca2 plus, C, Ca2 plus and Mg2 plus, or is it D, Na plus and Mg2 plus? The correct answer is definitely going to be C, because Water hardness is caused by the presence of dissolved calcium, Ca2+, and magnesium, Mg2+ ions. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C. Moving on to question number 16, it says, which element is used in large amounts by water companies to purify water? Is it A, chlorine, B, fluorine, C, nitrogen, or D, oxygen? The correct answer is definitely going to be A, chlorine, because water companies use chlorine in large amounts to kill harmful microorganisms and to purify drinking water. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A, chlorine. Let's move on to question number 17, and it says, where would you find the smallest atoms of elements in the periodic table? Is it top and left-hand side, top and right-hand side, bottom and left-hand side, or D, bottom and right-hand side? The correct answer is definitely going to be B, top and right-hand side. Because atomic size decreases, that means gets smaller across a period from left to right and increases down a group. So the smallest atoms are found at the top and right-hand side of the periodic table. So the correct answer is definitely going to be B. Let's move on to question number 17, and it says, which ion produces a lilac or purple flame in a flame test? Is it A, Ca2+, is it A, Ca2+, B, K+, C, Mg2+, or D, Na+? The correct answer is definitely going to be B, K+, or potassium ions, because potassium ions produce a lilac or purple flame in a flame test. Let's move on to question number 19, and it says, which group contains a liquid non-metal? Is it group 1, group 2? This is V, and this has 2 I's, so it's going to be group 7 or group 0. So we're looking for the group that has a liquid non-metal, and the correct answer is definitely going to be group 7 or group VII, which is 7. So group 7 contains bromine, which is the only liquid non-metal at room temperature. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C. Let's move on to question number 20, and it says, which element has the same relative atomic mass as argon? Is it calcium, fluorine, potassium, or zirconium? The correct answer is definitely going to be A, calcium, because argon has a relative atomic mass of about 40, and calcium also has a relative atomic mass of approximately 40. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A, calcium. Let's move on to question number 21, and it says, which element is a metal and is used in the manufacture of an aircraft body? Is it aluminum, arsenic, germanium, or silicon? The correct answer is definitely going to be A, aluminum, because aluminum is a metal that is lightweight, strong, and resistant to corrosion, making it widely used in the manufacture of aircraft bodies. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A, aluminum. Let's move on to question number 22, and it says, what is the product when the acid anhydride HCl is placed in water? Again, what is the product when the acid anhydride HCl is placed in water? Is it HCl aqueous, HCl liquid, HCl gas, or HCl solid? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be A. When hydrogen chloride gas dissolves in water, it forms hydrochloric acid, written as HCl aqueous or AQ. Let's move on to question number 23, and it says, what is the basicity of acetic acid or of acetic acid? CH3COOH. Let's read that again. What is the basicity of acetic acid? CH3COOH. Does it have a basis? Does it have a basicity of 1, 2, 3, or 4? And the correct answer is definitely going to be 1, because acetic acid has 1 replaceable hydrogen ion. So since it only has 1 replaceable hydrogen ion, its basicity is 1. Let's move on to question number 24, and it says, what is the pH range of sulfuric acid? Is it 0 to 2, 4 to 6, 8 to 11, or 12 to 14? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be A, 0 to 2, because sulfuric acid is a strong acid. So it has a very low pH, typically in the range of 0 to 2. It's a strong acid. Let's move on to question number 25, and it says, which two reactants produce magnesium sulfate and water? So we're trying to find the reactants, not the products. We're trying to find the reactants. So is it A, magnesium metal and sulfuric acid, B, magnesium hydroxide and sulfuric acid, C, magnesium metal and hydrochloric acid, or D, magnesium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be B, magnesium hydroxide and sulfuric acid, because magnesium sulfate and water are formed in a neutralization reaction between magnesium hydroxide and sulfuric acid. So we have a neutralization reaction, and the reactants of this is going to be magnesium hydroxide and sulfuric acid, and the products are magnesium sulfate and water. All right, so the correct answer is definitely going to be B. Let's move on to question number 26, and it says, which reagent, when added to a chloride, produces a white precipitate that turns gray in sunlight? Is it A, ammonium hydroxide, B, barium chloride, C, silver nitrate, or D, sodium hydroxide? Well, the correct answer here is going to be C, silver nitrate, because silver nitrate reacts with chloride ions to form silver chloride, a white precipitate that turns gray in sunlight due to decomposition. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C, silver nitrate. Let's move on to question number 27, and it says, which of the following has a characteristic which makes it suitable for use in a fire extinguisher? Is it A, carbon dioxide, B, hydrogen, C, oxygen, or D, water vapor? The correct answer here is definitely going to be A, carbon dioxide, because carbon dioxide is suitable for use in a fire extinguisher because it does not support combustion, and it displaces oxygen, helping to do what? Put out fires. So the whole job of a fire extinguisher is not to help prolong the fire, but it's to help to put out the fire. So carbon dioxide will definitely be suitable for use in a fire extinguisher because, one, it doesn't support combustion, and it displaces oxygen, and it helps to put out the fire. Let's move on to question number 28, and it says, which of the following uses electrolysis? Again, which of the following uses electrolysis? Is it 1, to separate the elements in compounds like water and salt, 2, to extract metals from their ores, and 3, to coat a steel ring with a thin layer of silver? Is it 2 only, 1 and 2 only, 1 and 3 only, or 1, 2, and 3? But the correct answer is definitely going to be D, 1, 2, and 3, because electrolysis is used to decompose compounds like water and molten salts. It is used to extract metals from their ores, and is used to electroplate objects such as coating steel with silver. So all 3 of them would be correct. All right, so D. Let's move on to question number 29. It says, what is an example of reduction? Chloride ions becoming chloride atoms, iron 2 ions becoming iron 3 ions, sodium atoms becoming sodium ions, or sulfur atoms becoming sulfide ions. The correct answer is definitely going to be D, because reduction is when we gain electrons, and sulfur atoms gain electrons to form sulfide ions, S2 negative. So the correct answer is definitely going to be D. Let's move on to question number 30, and it says, use the diagram to answer questions 30 and 31. So you have A, B, C, and D, and it says, where would oxygen gas be produced if the hydroxide ion is discharged? Is it A, B, C, or D? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be D. This is going to be D right here, because D is pointing to the anode, right? So when hydroxide ions are discharged, oxygen gas is produced where? At the anode. And the anode is the positive electrode. And so we know we're dealing with the positive here. So this is going to be the positive electrode. In the diagram, the right hand electrode is the anode. So oxygen forms in the region labeled D. So this one is going to be the positive one. This one is going to be the negative one. And so at the anode, the positive electrode, that is where we're going to have oxygen gases produced at the anode. All right. And so the correct answer is definitely going to be D. Let's move on to question number 31, and it says, where would a spoon be placed for electroplating? That's going to be on the negative side. And the negative side is going to be A. And so The correct answer is definitely going to be A, but why though? For electroplating, the object to be plated, which in our case is the spoon. So for electroplating, the object to be plated, which is the spoon in our case, is placed at the cathode. That's going to be the negative electrode. In the diagram, the cathode is at position A, where metal ions gain electrons and are deposited onto the spoon. So this is going to be the positive one. This is going to be the negative one. This is the anode, the cathode. Okay, so the correct answer is definitely going to be A. Let's move on to question number 32, and it says, which factor only affects the rate of a reaction with gases? Is it catalyst, pressure, surface area, or temperature? And the correct answer is definitely going to be the pressure, because pressure affects the rate of reactions involving gases, because increasing the pressure, what is it going to do to the particles? It forces the gas particles closer together. And what does that do? That's going to increase the frequency of the collisions, and it's going to speed up the reaction. So the correct answer is definitely going to be B, pressure. Let's move on to question number 33, and it says, which factor affects the rate by reducing the activation energy? Is it catalyst, concentration, surface area, and temperature? The answer is definitely going to be a catalyst, because a catalyst increases the rate of a reaction by providing an alternative pathway with a lower activation energy. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A, the catalyst. Let's move on to question number 34, and it says, which metal reacts most vigorously with water? Is it aluminum, cesium, magnesium, or tin? And the correct answer is definitely going to be B, cesium. Cesium most vigorously reacts with water because it is a group 1 metal with very low ionization energy, so it loses its outer electron easily and reacts extremely rapidly. So cesium, B, is the correct answer here. Let's move on to question number 35, and it says, which metal is the most reactive out of these? Is it going to be chlorine, or I should say, which element is the most reactive? Chlorine, fluorine, helium, or oxygen? The correct answer is definitely going to be B, fluorine. Fluorine is the most reactive element from this list, because fluorine is most reactive element because it has a very high electronegativity and strongly attracts electrons, making it react extremely easily. Let's say that again. Fluorine is the most reactive one out of these four because it has a very high electronegativity and strongly attracts electrons, making it react extremely easily. So the correct answer is definitely going to be B, fluorine. Let's move on to question number 36, and it says, the listed pollutants are sometimes found in car exhaust fumes: carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxide. Which of these pollutants are the products of the combustion of the fuel? Is it A, 1 and 2 only, B, 1 and 3 only, C, 2 and 3 only, or D, 1, 2, and 3? The correct answer is definitely going to be B, 1 and 3 only, and 1 is carbon monoxide and 3 is sulfur dioxide. Carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide are produced from the combustion of the fuel. Nitrogen oxides are formed from nitrogen in the air, not from the fuel itself. So the correct answer is definitely going to be 1 and 3 only, carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. Let's move on to question number 37. It says, which raw materials are used in the manufacture of iron? Is it bauxite and lime, bauxite and limestone, hematite and lime, or hematite and limestone? The correct answer is definitely going to be D, hematite and limestone. Hematite is the iron ore, and limestone is used to remove impurities during iron extraction. So the correct answer is definitely going to be D. Let's move on to question number 38, and it says, which pure form of carbon conducts electricity? Is it coal, diamond, graphite, or soot? The correct answer is definitely going to be C, graphite, because graphite conducts electricity because it has delocalized electrons that can move freely between its layers. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C, graphite. Question number 39, it says, which substance is not an alloy? Keyword here is not. Is it brass? Is it bronze? Is it lanthanum? Or is it steel? The correct answer is definitely going to be lanthanum. Lanthanum is a pure element, not a mixture of metals, so it's not an alloy. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C. Moving right along to question number 40, it says, which substance is aluminum commercially extracted from? Bauxite, hematite, magnetite, and siderite. The correct answer is definitely going to be A, bauxite, because bauxite is the main ore of aluminum used for commercial extraction. So the correct answer is going to be A, bauxite. Moving right along to question number 41, it says, what is the mass of 1 mole of lithium hydroxide? Is it 24 grams, 25 grams, 31 grams, or 41 grams? So the correct answer is definitely going to be A, because if we notice, lithium is going to be 7, oxygen is going to be 16, and hydrogen is going to be 1. And if we add 7 and 16 and 1, we get 24 grams per mole. And so it's going to be 24 grams. That's the mass of 1 mole of lithium hydroxide. So the correct answer is going to be A. Question number 42. What is the volume occupied by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd power molecules of carbon dioxide, CO2 at room temperature and pressure? Again, what is the volume occupied by 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23 molecules of carbon dioxide, CO2 at room temperature and pressure? Is it A, 22.4 dm cube, B, 44 dm cube, C, 88 dm cube, or D, 24,000 dm cube? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be A, 22.4 dm cube, because 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd power molecules of CO2 or carbon dioxide equals 1 mole of carbon dioxide. At room temperature and pressure, 1 mole of any gas occupies 22.4 dm cube. And so that means that our answer, the volume, is going to be what? 22.4 dm cube. So the correct answer is definitely going to be A, 22.4 dm cube. Let's move on to question number 43. It says, what happens to an atom when a covalent bond is formed? Is it A, it loses electrons, B, it loses protons, C, it shares inner shell electrons, or D, we share valence electrons? The correct answer is definitely going to be D, share valence electrons, because we're looking at a covalent bond. Atoms form a covalent bond by sharing valence electrons, so each atom attains a stable outer shell. So the correct answer is definitely going to be D. Let's move on to question number 44, and it says, how many moles are in 0.85 grams of ammonia, or NH3? Is it A, 2.0 moles, B, 0.2 moles, C, 0.05 moles, or D, 0.005 moles? And so in order to do this, what we're going to do, well, we're going to say that the number of moles is going to be equal to mass divided by molar mass. What is the molar mass of ammonia? Well, we know that N is going to be 14. And for hydrogen, we have to do 1 times 3 because there are 3 hydrogen atoms. So we have 14 plus 3 times 1, and 3 times 1 is 3. So 14 plus 3, and that gives us 16 grams per mole. And so that means that the molar mass of ammonia is 17 grams per mole. So now that we have 17 grams per mole, that is going to be our molar mass. What we need to do is we need to find the number of moles, we need to take 0.85, because 0.85 is the grams, right? That is going to be the mass. So you have 0.85 divided by 17, and we get 0.05 moles. And that's what we do. The mass divided by molar mass. The mass is 0.85 grams. The molar mass is 17. And so we do 0.85 divided by 17, and that gives us 0.05. And so the correct answer here is going to be C, 0.05. Let's move on to question number 45. And it says, which process is an exothermic process? Is it A, evaporation of rubbing alcohol from skin? B, liquid wax changes to solid wax? C, photosynthesis in a green leaf? Or D, sublimation of dry ice? We're talking about exothermic reaction. The correct answer here is definitely going to be B, because liquid wax changing to solid wax releases heat to the surroundings. And so that means it's going to be an exothermic process. Let's move on to question number 46, and it says the reaction for the extraction of iron is given in the equation. And so we have F2, we have Fe2, we have O3 plus 3CO And that gives us, so this is the reactants and this is the products. That gives us 2Fe plus 3CO2. Which row in the table describes the reaction? So do we have that iron is reduced, carbon is oxidized, the reducing agent is iron, and the oxidizing agent is carbon monoxide? Is it that iron is oxidized, carbon is reduced, the reducing agent is iron, and the oxidizing agent is iron 3 oxide? Is it that we have iron is reduced, carbon is oxidized, carbon monoxide is the reducing agent, and the oxidizing agent is iron 3 oxide? Or is it that iron is oxidized, carbon is reduced, carbon monoxide is the reducing agent, and carbon monoxide is the oxidizing agent? What is happening here? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be C, because iron 3 oxide is reduced to iron. Carbon monoxide is oxidized to carbon dioxide. So carbon monoxide is the reducing agent, and we have it here. Carbon monoxide is the reducing agent, and iron 3 oxide is the oxidizing agent. So the correct answer is definitely going to be C. Question number 47 says, which equation shows a reaction? It should say, question 47 says the equation shows a reaction. So we have CH4 plus Cl2. This is the reactants, and the products are CH3Cl plus HCl. Which type of reaction is represented by this equation? Is it an addition reaction, a substitution reaction, a polymerization reaction, or a hydrogenation reaction? Well, it's definitely going to be a substitution reaction, because a hydrogen atom in methane, so notice we have 4 hydrogen atoms in methane, right? But a hydrogen atom in methane is replaced by chlorine. So we had 4 hydrogen here, but notice here we only have 3 hydrogens, and we have what? A chlorine, right? We have a chlorine atom. So that means that what happened? A hydrogen atom is replaced by the chlorine atom. And so here, again, one of our hydrogen atoms, what's going to happen to it? It's going to be replaced with what? Chlorine. So we have that replace, or that substitution, right? So now we have CH3, not CH4, because remember, Cl takes the place of one of the hydrogens. So it's going to be CH3Cl. So chlorine replaces a hydrogen atom, and so we call it a substitution reaction. All right. So let's move on to question number 48. It says, which formula represents an alkane? Well, the correct answer is definitely going to be C, because we have C6H14, and C6H14 is going to be an alkene. We know it's an alkene because the formula for alkene is CnH2n plus 2. Now, if we assume that N is 6, right? So N is 6, so it's going to be C6, right? So C6, so N is 6. And then if we look at this particular expression, 2N plus 2, remember N is 6, so it's going to be 2 times 6, and 2 times 6 is 12, plus 2 is going to be 14. So that means that this expression right here, 2N plus 2, if N is 6, this is going to be 14. So we have C6H14, and so that means that this is an alkene. It fits the alkene formula. All right, so the correct answer is definitely going to be C. Let's move on to question number 49, and it says, which compound has the highest boiling point? Butane, hexane, octane, or propane? And the correct answer is definitely going to be octane, because octane has the highest boiling point because it has the largest molecule and strongest intermolecular forces. All right, so the correct answer is definitely going to be C, octane. All right, let's move on to question number 50, and it says, which waste material is non-biodegradable? Non-biodegradable. Is it A, broken wooden chair, B, chicken bones from dinner, C, fallen trees and leaves from a hurricane, or D, used plastic water bottles? And again, it's asking us which material is non-biodegradable. The correct answer is definitely going to be D, because used plastic bottles are non-biodegradable. Why is that? Because plastics do not break down naturally by microorganisms. And so the correct answer is definitely going to be D. All right, so that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. See you soon.